Hi and welcome to WarHQ. My name is Lucius, and today's video, what we'll be doing, we're continuing on. Some of you might have seen my last video about the 9,000 points of Eldar that I've been collecting. Well, in front of you is 3,000 points of that, which I've dedicated to the Iyanden craft world. So that's the yellow and blue dudes, if you don't know who they are. And they really rely on their spirit warriors. So there's, the Wraiths and Wraith Lords and Wraith Guard and all that sort of stuff. And as you can see before me, what I've done is I've assembled a team, because what we'll be doing in the next few videos is we'll be taking this Eldar force of 3,000 and we'll be pitting against my Emperor's Children force. So we're doing a couple of bat reps with that. So this video is the first one in that series where I show the Iyanden basically that I've painted and this 3,000 point battle force. I'm going to go through some of the tactics, the units and stuff that I'm going to use and how I perceive them performing, I guess, on the battlefield. And then I'll do the same for the Emperor's Children, and then we'll finally do some bat reps. So if you like that kind of content, then I advise you to stay tuned. But please subscribe to this channel. It only takes you a second to do. It means a hell of a lot to us, and we love all those people that have. And thank you for doing so. But for now, let's get started. Now you'll see that I just posted you an army list just before this segment. So with that army list, you can see what I have here. But for those that don't know, I'm going to break it down and just show you what this 3,000 points comprises of and how and then I'll break down the units individually and tell you what they're good at and why I chose them. Okay, so obviously the first thing is our avatar. So avatar you can take pretty much in every Eldar force. They're a mainstay. We have our main war hosts. These guys here. So we've got one unit of Wraith Lords. There's 6 Wraith Lords there. And then we have our Spirit Seer Wraith Lord there with a little face. Just to make him look stand out, I guess. And we've got 2 units of Warrior Ghost Guards. So they've both got Spirit Seers and they're comprised of 4 Wraith Guards. And this one has 2 Wraith Lords and 1 is a Spirit Seer. And then this other unit here has 4 Wraith Guard and 1 Wraith Lord. So that's the main punch of our army, and they really do punch too. They're really good. So that's the 3 war hosts which we have in this army, which total 1,050 points. Now, as far as troop choices go, we've got some interesting stuff. We have an Aspect Warrior team. So that's down here. Now we have 2 units of Striking Scorpions, and we have 2 units of Dark Reapers, and they have 2 Wave Serpents, which basically transport them to where they want to go. Now, there's a lot of choices with Aspect Warriors, but I went this way because of some simple things. Now, these are going to be my anti-personnel strike team, basically. So the Dark Reapers get 2 shots each with their missile launchers, their Reaper missile launchers, and the Striking Scorpions also get 2 attacks each with their Mandy Blasters. So either 2 of these, so either in close combat or at range, are going to have the firepower of 4 units, and plus the 2 Wave Serpents. So that's why I chose those as my Aspect Warriors. I think they sort of complement each other well, and they can either go close combat or some distant shooting as well, which isn't a bad thing. And they're fast. We can get them into positions with those Wave Serpents. All right, so next unit, which is quite a big one, is this one down here. And this is our Guardian group. So we've got a Farseer over here. We have 6 units of Guardians in the Iyanden colours, as you can see. We have a heavy weapon platform, and then we have 3 support weapons. So that's quite a large unit, but I think quite effective. First of our sort of tank units, we have 3 Night Spinners up the back here. So Night Spinners are pretty cool. They have the obviously the area of effect weaponry from range, so that's going to be like our long distance artillery support. Then we have a unit of 4 Rangers, which are here. So Rangers are cool. They've got the Scout Specialism and Sniper, and I'll go through that in a little bit more as to why I think they're awesome. And thematically, I've taken them as well. And they're thematically taken because I have the Warwalkers as well. So the Warwalkers and the Rangers in the Eldar force, for those that don't know, are really, they're meant to be your forward scouts, and they're the only troops that can garrison objectives and stuff as well, because the Eldar aren't very good at holding places, but those two units can. But they can also spread out and scout as well, which makes them really effective. And then these guys can sniper as well, which is I'll talk about in a bit. So that's those units. And then finally in our troop selections, we have the Swords of Vol unit, which is one of my favorite, very effective. So you've got 4 Falcons here, and then you have 2 Firestorms. Now, these work well together. You'll see that I don't have any air units in this force. So the Firestorms give me some decent anti-aircraft stuff. They get 2 attacks each at any aircraft, and reasonable chance of killing 2. And the Falcons are just brutes. They've got lots of guns. You can do lots of damage. And then the final unit in this team, the troops cost 1,200 points. And then onto our spacecraft, aircraft, and Titans. As I said, I've got no aircraft, but I do have a Phantom Titan, and that is 750 points. You'll see here, I do have him with the power glove, or I think it's pretty good. Most people suggest the 2 pulsar build, which is fine, and you'll notice that the other weapon he has isn't a pulsar, but I don't have enough variations for that in the models that I have, so I'm chasing that at the moment. And when I do that, I'll magnetize those arms and then be able to swap and change as per needed. But for now, that's how he is. He's got the power glove and he's got the pulsar. We're just going to call it for now as a proxy, but he looks pretty schmick anyway. And that is the composition of the team itself. Okay, so the first 2 units we're going to look at are the Wraith Guard and the Wraith Lord. So these 2 units are part of our main war host and comprise, the main troops of our force. Now, these are exceptionally good units. The Wraith Guard have a double macro weapon attack with range. So that is what macro weapons do is only units with reinforced and invulnerability saves can actually make a save against these guys. So otherwise they just go straight through, which makes these guys tough as nails against shooting anything. And macro doesn't matter if you're shooting personnel or tanks, obviously, it doesn't matter. Whereas the Wraith Lord gets an anti-tank attack, so he has that lance weapon. The lance means that you can't re-roll reinforced rolls for tanks and stuff like that, so that makes them really good. So having so many of these guys gives me a lot of anti-tank punch, so anything that's armored is in a lot of trouble against this stuff. They're not going to be getting their reinforced saves, or not going to be able to re-roll them, so it makes these guys quite good. Now, these guys are also brutes in close combat. They both get 2 attacks in close combat with macro as well. So you get them in close combat, they start ripping shit apart, as you would expect for these Spirit Warriors. Now, another main aspect of these guys is they are tough. They have a 4+ armor save, both of them, and it's reinforced, so they get to re-roll it, obviously. So this makes them super, super durable. Another thing I'll say is the Wraith Guard are classed as infantry, but the Wraith Lords are classed as armoured vehicles, so they need that AT attacks to take them down, so normal infantry aren't going to do much against your Wraith Lords. So I think both have a role on the battlefield for this. And finally, another awesome thing about them is they're fearless. So it means if they lose assaults, they don't take casualties as a result of that when they're withdrawing, which is really big when you've only got the fewer models in your actual unit. So I see these guys really dominating the battlefield, being able to dictate, they're tanky enough to be able to move up independently and fight. And, with this many guns, I've got 3 full units of Wraith Lords and Wraith Guards that are over strength as well. All 3 of those units are over strength. So really, if the enemy's got anything heavy coming at me, they're going to be in a bit of trouble. These things I see ripping apart tank battalions and stuff like that pretty easy. So that's my war host, 2 main dudes, and let's move on to the next. Okay, so let's have a look at our aspect warriors. So before you'll have 2 lots of aspect warriors that are in this unit, and one is the Dark Reapers and the other is the Striking Scorpions, and they are in Wave Serpent transports. So the good thing about the Dark Reapers is their main strength, so they get 2 AP shots each, and they've got a 45 centimeter range, which is really tough, which means that those 2 units alone are getting 4 attacks at 45 centimeters, which is fantastic. They also have a 3+ firefight ability, which is very high. It means they're pretty brutal against personnel, which is what I'm going for. This is my infantry buster unit. So the Scorpions, the striking Scorpions, have 2 times close combat attacks with their Mandiblasters. So this is the opposite, as I was saying before. These guys can do a double strike and make up for the other unit, so that the 2 units can have 4 attacks. And they're at 4+ armor as well, the striking Scorpions, which makes them quite survivable in close combat. Now, to back this up, the Wave Serpent really complements these guys because they have a 35 centimeter range of movement. As you know, in this game, you can do double and triple movements, which is super quick. It has AP attacks, which is what we want, because this is our personnel bosses, so it can support these guys. And the main thing is it's a skimmer. So a skimmer can just ignore terrain and features, basically just skims over them. It can pop up, pop down, make shots, etc. So that's going to get these guys where they want to go at any time to be able to redeploy or deploy and take out personnel or hold objectives. Okay, moving right along to our Guardian unit. Now, Guardians are a dime a dozen. Obviously, they're not great by themselves, but they do get some good options to bulk out your units as well. This is quite a large unit I have here. The Guardians themselves don't get an armor save. They're a bit meh, but they do have a 4+ firefight, and I've got 6 of them, so that makes them handy in a shootout. Now, they're backed by 4 support units. Now, the support units have macro weapons 5+, so this is good, and they've got a 30 centimeter range. This gives them a little bit of support against things like tanks and stuff that are going to come up and try and mess with them. Also gives them against tougher units with reinforced saves like Terminators and that aren't going to get that with that macro weapon as well. And to complement, they also have the heavy weapon platform, which is an AP AT 5+, which is another handy thing at 30 centimeters. So you've got 4 long-range weapons with these guys. It's a unit of 10, so they have a high break point. As I said, none of them have armor saves, so they can get skittled a little bit. But this is a good one for like holding an objective with numbers, and it's a bit of a combined weapons force. You've got you're shooting in close with your Guardians, and you've also got your longer range shooting as well to put pressure on tanks and enemy. So that's the Guardians. Now the Eldar Rangers, one of my favorite units. I've decided to really give them some sort of hollow cloak thing going on here. I quite like the paint job on these ones. I think they sort of stand out, but they sort of blend in too, which is cool. Now, these guys are awesome. They've got the Scout's special ability, so what that means is they can literally, instead of having to be 5 centimeters together to be able to be cohesive as a unit, they can go up to 20 centimeters, which means that they can really fan out, take minimal damage, but also block enemy from coming towards you and stuff like that, and they have a better zone of control as well. And the sniper ability allows them to be able to shoot. You've got a reasonable shooting range, and what they can do is they can choose the enemy that you shoot. So this, if you want to headhunt their characters and stuff like that, this is the way to do it. And you also get a -1 armor to the target that you shoot. So that makes these guys quite awesome, really, at getting in there, headshotting leaders, and stalling the enemy, which is what they're meant for thematically. Next formation in our scout section is the Eldar Warwalkers. Now, these things are quite handy as well. Like the Rangers, they have the Scout special ability. So it means they've got that 20 centimeter cohesive range there where they'll stay in contact with their other troops, which means that they can spread out. They're very fast as well. They can get ahead of the battle lines. They can block up big units like Titans and that. They usually die doing that, but they do actually block them from doing much else in that turn. So if you want to just sacrifice these in round 1 or 2, to stop that advance of a big weapon coming forward or a war machine, this is the unit for you. They do get a reinforced save, but it's not great. You've got to roll 6s each time. Armor isn't the best. And they are walkers as well, so they do get to cross terrain and get rerolls for dangerous rolls and stuff like that. Now, they do have a lance attack, which is handy, which means that an opponent can't reroll its reinforced save, so that's an AT attack, but they also get a second attack, which is AP AT as well. So pretty handy, decent firepower for this little model. And as I said, it's just another good scout option and very thematic for a force to have these and Rangers working together at the forefront of your army. Okay, another tank or skimmer, I guess you'd say, option is this Night Spinner. Now, we've got a unit of those. Night Spinner I'm going to put in the anti-personnel category. Now, these things can do the BP attacks. So basically what BP attacks are barrage weapons. So the 3 of these together can do a 3 BP attack because they have to fire together at a 45 centimeter range, which is decent. They get a 4 against AP, 6 against AT. That's why I say anything under there, that's a 50-50 chance of hitting any ground targets under there. So if you've got a whole formation there, you can pretty much zap them with these things, and 50% of them are probably going to get taken. So these are sort of things you can put on objectives. You can bring up and support the rest of your force with. Now, what's good about these is they're fast. They do have the skimmer rule, as I said before, so they can ignore terrain and stuff like that. They are a little bit brittle though, so if they do get shot at, they are going to die pretty quickly. But if you keep them behind your other formations, then you're usually pretty good. So that's my Night Spinners. All right, moving on. I'd call these guys probably another anti-tank specialist. So this is my Swords of Vol, and they're comprised of Falcons and also the Firestorms, and they're skimmers as well. So they get, look, all of this force is quite rapid moving. Terrain doesn't really affect it. So that makes these things quite cool. So the Firestorms are quite unique. Now they can get basically 2 attacks against AT, AP, or AA. So they're anti-aircraft. So this is like one of the only anti-aircraft units I have in the team. So these are important to have near important assets that you want to protect, to shoot down those planes that try and come in and wreck your Titan or something. It's going to make it a lot more scary for the enemy to come at this tank detachment with these guys sitting there, because they're going to know they're going to get 4 AA shots at them before they can fire at 4+, which is pretty strong too. Now the Falcons, on the other hand, they're skimmers again. Both these units are very fast, and they get some really good anti-tank attacks. So they've got 2 anti-tank attacks at 4+, and then they also have 1 AP-AT attack as well. So potentially 3 shots against tanks on each of these guys. So you can sort of see there, it's a barrage of shit. If you're going to try and come at these things with armored vehicles, you're going to be in for a bit of a surprise. The only thing with them is they are quite brittle. Like most of the Eldar force, they will fall apart pretty quick if they get shot upon first. So you really want to seize the initiative with these guys and get in and do the damage before you start losing them, because they will do a lot of damage. And that is my Swords of Vol. All right, this brings us down to the feature piece of this army, I guess, which is the Phantom Titan itself. Now, the Phantom Titan is just a menace. So it's very, very survivable. I mean, it has hollow field technology like all the Eldar, which gives it a 3+ save with reinforcement. So that makes it really, really hard to get damage on it, unless you're getting shot at by Titan killer weapons and stuff like that. And speaking of Titan killer weapons, it does have that ability as well. The Pulsar is a Titan killer weapon. So basically, you get no armor save, and you get no ability to actually save that as a war engine, which is pretty brutal. So you get hit with those enough, you're going to go down. And on top of that, I mean, it's got a little bit of AA, can shoot 2 AA, so it's another anti-aircraft weapon in this army, since I have no aircraft. And it also has a lot of AP-AT attacks, which are reasonable as well. So anything getting in too close is going to get obliterated. So that's my Phantom Titan. It's just awesome. It is what it is. It's great in close combat with that power fist. It's great at long range, great at medium range. So you just got to be careful to protect it, as you do with most assets of this size, because they will get targeted. But yeah, that is the Phantom. So just in closing on this force, I'm pretty happy with it. This is just the start. Obviously, I've got a lot of other Eldar miniatures. What I am going to do is I'm going to make a Tan force as well, probably 3,000 points, and that'll give me this one plus a Tan force. And I'll probably dedicate the rest of the models that I have into those 2 forces, because I have a lot of aspect warriors, so that's going to be the main punch of the Tan. And then I'll add some more assets into this as well, probably some jet bikes and a few other things. So, and some heavy tanks as well, just so I can have alternative lists for these armies as well. So this army, as I said, I am going to be featuring in these next couple of videos in bat reps. So we'll be fighting Emperor's Children, and we're going to see how that goes. I think these guys have the answers to Emperor's Children. They have a lot of good anti-tank and good stuff against heavy armor, like lots of macro weapons and stuff like that. So it is going to put a lot of those sort of Terminators and Predators and stuff in a bit of danger. But they all are pretty brittle outside of the Titan and the Wraith Lords. They're pretty tough, but other than that, the whole force is pretty brittle. So it really depends who's going to get the first punches on things. So I think it's going to be an interesting sort of thing. So please subscribe to this channel if you want to see more of that sort of content. I'm more than happy to to give that to you. I think it's going to be pretty fun. I've been really frothing to get these painted so I can get onto these battle reports and produce that kind of content for you guys. But for now, my name is Lucius, this is WarHQ, and we're signing out.